What's up, everybody? The other day, I put out a review on the Gears of War Reloaded campaign. Today, we are talking Gears of War multiplayer. I actually never played the original Gears of War multiplayer. I might have played a couple matches and didn't really like it, but I was always into the Gears campaigns. So the reviews will be a little bit different. The review on the campaign, which if you want to watch that, or the playthrough, those will be linked down below. Though the campaign was always more my thing. And so I was looking at it from a nostalgia and replaying it standpoint, and here this is me playing it new. Either way, there is the perspective of we're comparing it to the gaming landscape of today and not the gaming landscape of 2006 or 2015 when the Ultimate Edition came out. So we're going to do our usual pros, so-sos, and cons, and then wrap it all up and kind of give it a rating at the end. Starting with the cons, first of all, is the rate of times that I get put into a match in progress was insane. Most of the time I got put into a match in progress, not a new match. And of course you get new matches once you finish out that match in progress, but it was hard to just jump on and first get into new matches. And oftentimes you got put into a match in progress that was an ass kicking, and you were on the losing team and you just get your ass kicked. And then the lobby doesn't disband or reshuffle the teams, so you just keep getting your ass kicked. So then you quit, you search for a new match, new lobby, and you get into a match in progress. And once again, just like the campaign, another con is that it felt dated. It just feels like a game from 2006 that was just slightly tweaked in 2015 and then maybe slightly tweaked again. It just feels dated. The way the mechanics, just the way everything feels, just feels kind of dated, and the graphics are feeling a little dated too. Another con is that there's no customization screen. The only customization you get is pre-match, and you only get it in the pre-match. So if you join a match in progress, you just go back to default gun skins and Marcus Phoenix or whatever the regular Locust Grunt is, and not any of the other characters that you select. And so you don't have that, and there's no customization screen, so you can't just preset stuff to be your customization. You can only do it in the pre-lobby, which depending on when you get into that pre-lobby, because sometimes you don't get in match in progress, you don't really have the time to do it. And nowadays it's standard in games to have your own customization screen. Another thing I had is there's no tutorial. Now there is a tutorial in the campaign, but not everybody's interested in the campaign. So there's no tutorial, no guide to read or watch, no practice area to kind of learn some of the mechanics, because Gears is a fairly unique game and it does feel a little dated, so it'd be nice to be able to practice. And there's none of that. The other one is another one I wrote down is kills versus downs. You can knock somebody and somebody else gets the kill. They get the kill, you get the down. If you down somebody, you should just get the kill. They can still track downs because you don't always get the full on somebody, but not getting the kill credit when you're the person who downed them and then someone comes and finishes your kill, I just think is a bad system. Another thing that I kind of mentioned the match in progress is the team balance. Now, I was only playing in social because I, don't really have familiarity with Gears multiplayer. And so I didn't want to play competitive, especially because, disclaimer, a lot of my games were not good. The best games for me were just barely over positive or just even KD. So not like I'm great at this game. I should put that disclaimer earlier. But, you would have me who's not very good at the game and just have a team that could just be all people not very good or just one really good person. And then you face a bunch of level 50s, 70s, 80s that are all really good at the game. And it just leads to ass kickings, which leads to people quitting, which leads to people getting put in your match in progress. I'm not asking for any kind of SBMM, just a good team balance is what games should have. Another thing I have on here is the Lancer is almost useless. It is a pea shooter, so when you're far away from people can easily get into cover. And most of the maps, the way the cover works and just the way the map layouts are, it's all about the Gnasher shotgun, which can be overpowered, but I don't know. It's weird. The Lancer just isn't very useful because you can just play your cover and close the gap. And then, of course, there's power weapons, but the Lancer itself is not very useful, and that's the iconic weapon of Gears of War, so that's a shame. And the other thing that I forgot to write down, but is off the top of my head, the third-person aiming just feels weird to me. It's not as bad when you're aiming to somebody on the right of the screen, but on the left of the screen, it just feels like it's harder to line things up. And on top of that, depending on which model you choose, which character model you choose. Sometimes the character models are like really in the way of seeing over that like right angled shoulder, and there's no way to switch cameras that I could think of or that I could figure out. And it's harder to like aim to the left, and it just feels kind of awkward. Those are my cons. My so-sos, just like in campaign, the graphics are in the so-sos. The graphics would be pretty good in 2015 when the Ultimate Edition came out, but they feel very old and just barely touched up in 2025. And I was running it on high settings, and it just is not it looks like an old game. The next so-so is the cover system. I like the idea of the cover system. I like being able to swing to other covers. I like being able to cover and then mantle. I like the cover system as a whole, but it can be a little bit clunky where sometimes, you know, you're trying to dodge roll into something, and instead there's actually cover close to you behind, and you get sucked into that cover, not covering. You're on the wrong side of the cover. And I just think it works really clunky. Or there's times where you're trying to mantle over and it's not 100% perfectly aligned. You're just barely to the left where there's a pillar, but it doesn't realize that you want to mantle. So, you know, games nowadays usually figure that out. So while the idea of the cover system and when you have it down perfectly works well, if you're learning the game or a little bit awkward in the game, it gets really clunky. And then this was actually something I had in the pros, but my last so-so is the footsteps. The footsteps are audible. They're there like 90% of the time, but teammates' footsteps and enemy footsteps sound identical. So I love that there's footsteps almost all of the time. They're loud so you can hear them, but they go in the so-sos because they do disappear on rare occasions, and they sound the exact same and are the same volume as teammate footsteps. Moving on to the pros, of course, this is a big nostalgia hit. I'm not as nostalgic for the multiplayer as I am the campaign, but it is a childhood nostalgia hit, especially because I was 11 when the original Gears came out. The next pro I have is skill gap. Now, I'm not good, but I see people be really good. I see people that have learned the cover system, and the way you shoot from cover to cover makes it really hard to aim at people. And so I like games with skill gap. It makes it frustrating. It makes me, so I'm probably not going to go back to it because there's so many games that I do want to play. But if you really spent the time, you can really shit all over people because the skill gap is very high. The next thing I have is there's social and competitive matches. If you want to play, if you want to play ranked, you want some SBMM, go to competitive. But otherwise, social is just a no SBMM search mode. Although, like I said, the team balancing could be better. The next I have is a self-revive mechanic. It's in the pros because it's not quick. It's not easy. You have to spam at least A or X if you're on controller. But if somebody doesn't come full, you can't get yourself back up. The next is the non-disbanding lobbies. I do like that. It's just they don't have team balance, but I do like that lobbies stick together. Also, the maps. I really like the maps. They're pretty much just 3-lane maps, and they all have their own unique qualities about them, whether it's the train, whether it's the gas on the map. They're all unique. And then finally, the other one is that there's no aim assist, especially in small map games. I do like when there's no or very low aim assist because it increases that skill gap, and it's not like you're aiming far away. And it makes it easier to play on mouse and keyboard since it's also on PC. But that's my pros, so-sos, and cons. Overall, I don't think the game really stands up to 2025 games. But if you're looking for a nostalgia hit, or you played a lot of Gears back in the day, so you're not way behind like I am and you just get shit on, I definitely think the game could be enjoyable, but because it doesn't really live up to the standards of 2020's gaming, and there's no way to close that skill gap and get better at the game other than just routinely getting shit on, I'm going to give it just a 5 out of 10. If I let my bias in the way, I'd probably put it even lower because I got tired of getting shit on. But it's just a 5 out of 10. That's my thoughts on Gears multiplayer. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you like this type of content, game reviews, COD, and Apex content, and you want to see it first, hit that notification bell. Like I said, I will link my campaign review and campaign playthrough down below, as well as my Twitch, all my social medias, including my car-related social medias, if you're into that. But thank you for the support, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.